Hello everybody, welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. I'm Bill, and today we're going to be talking all about how to pair whiskey and chocolates. Now I'm going to try to make this a somewhat fast video because if you're looking for kind of a Valentine's Day gift or something like that, I want you to be able to make use of this. So we're going to jump right into how to pair your different whiskey styles with types of chocolate. We're going to do everything from milk chocolate, white chocolate, dark chocolate, as well as variants with sea salt, Grand Marnier, rum, all different types of stuff. So let's get right into the tasting. Now, in order to properly taste your chocolate and your whiskey together, what you're going to want to do is take a sip of your whiskey, allow it to coat the inside of your mouth, take a bite of your chocolate, kind of gauge the interaction, see what it feels like, and then take another sip of your whiskey and kind of let it melt along with that, which means that you don't want to take a very large bite of chocolate. For example, this is a Glendronach 12. It's a sherried Scotch. It goes really well with salted dark chocolate. So let's go ahead and give it a shot. Okay, it's very delightful. I love sherried scotches. So let's take a bite of our sea salt dark chocolate, which is apparently filled with caramel. Really, really good. Absolutely delicious. I kind of spent a lot of money on chocolates for this video, tax write-off, and I'm very happy about that. So now that I've got the dark chocolate kind of swirling around in my mouth, I can tell that it's mixing really well with the berry flavor of the Glendronach and kind of that raisiny taste that you're getting from sherried Scotch. Now I'm going to have another sip of this. Now that is the magic right there. What's happening is it's totally changing the flavor of your whiskey. And what I just got, instead of kind of like raisiny or berries, was actually more dark chocolate, which I was not expecting. It brings out some of the oak flavor as well. Everything about the whiskey totally just changed. And if I have another sip, kind of let it hang out in my mouth for a minute, obviously do it a little longer if you're not filming a video. It's going to completely change the flavor of both the whiskey and the chocolate. It is truly something that goes really well together. Before we start, a real quick note, you're going to want a lot of water, so keep that on hand so you can cleanse your palate. Now we're going to start off with Irish whiskey. I have the Green Spot here and the Redbreast 12. Now I've poured the Green Spot, and as we go through this, I'm going to go a little faster and faster, but here we have the Green Spot. It's distilled in a way that makes it very, very smooth. So that is something that, to me, goes really well with the vanilla that is in white chocolate. So we're going to have a sip of this, we're going to take a bite of this, and then we're going to have another sip, and we're going to talk about it real quick. All right, cheers. Now, as expected, the Green Spot has honey, green apple, and oak. Now, obviously, this is going to have some vanilla flavor to it, as well as probably just like a creamy nature to it, and both of these are going to go well together. So I've coated the inside of my mouth. Go ahead and have a taste. Now, white chocolate is probably my least favorite kind of chocolate, and this is still just amazing. Look at that thing, it's full. All right, so now that we've got that creamy vanilla flavor kind of mixing all around, it has since overpowered the whiskey. And that's why we do the second sip of whiskey. Cheers. It is wild how different this tastes in between bites. This is something I really, really want to encourage you to do. So when I have a sip of this the second time around, it's really highlighting the oaky notes and that spice, as well as the creaminess of the white chocolate is playing really well with the whiskey and the really mixing very well together. It is losing a lot of the apple and it's losing some of the honey, although it's coming out as more like almost like a melted ice cream flavor. It's absolutely delicious, but again, white chocolate, probably my least favorite of the chocolates, is why I'm doing it first, because I want to move on and get over to the milk chocolate and bourbons. Chocolate, I opted for Buffalo Trace and Four Roses Small Batch. Now, these are both well known for kind of a caramel flavor as well as vanilla, and when you think milk chocolate, vanilla definitely crosses the mind, as well as sometimes caramel. So the two of these really feel like they'll go well together, so let's go ahead and have a taste of the Four Roses. Cheers. Four Roses Small Batch, totally underrated bourbon. Even though people love it, it just gets overshadowed by things like Buffalo Trace. You should buy yourself this. Okay, so milk chocolate. Now that this has coated my mouth with the whiskey here, it is caramel, it is vanilla, it's oak, it's delicious. Honestly, it's a very classic bourbon note flavor. So let's have a taste of the milk chocolate. Cheers, I guess. Cheers. Honestly, every single one of these chocolates is just incredible. I just want to eat chocolate on camera. Okay, so what this reminds me of, in a good way, is kind of that melty creaminess that you get in a really nice chocolate bar. And I think you could picture what I'm talking about. Don't think Hershey's because it doesn't melt the right way. Think of something more like a Lindt, like one of those little ball things. It's melting and it's turning into vanilla and caramel and just kind of a chocolatey flavor. I mean, all of this is going to taste like chocolate, right? Now let's go ahead and have a sip. Cheers. But other than the oak, what it's bringing out is kind of a deeper vanilla flavor, as well as a butterscotch flavor. And all of these are really more just amplifying what you're tasting in the small batch here. So, totally worth doing. Now lastly, for your classical flavors, we're going to do dark chocolate along with a heavily peated whiskey. Now I have here both Laphroaig 10 and Ardbeg 10. Both would be a great choice. So what you're usually going to get off these whiskeys is smoke and kind of a iodine flavors off of the Laphroaig, as well as maybe some sea salt from the maritime notes here. So let's go ahead and have a taste of this. Cheers. Laphroaig 10 is a great whiskey, if you like that. If you don't like the taste, it's going to be one of your worst nightmares. But I love it. So it tastes like iodine, it tastes like sea salt, it tastes like peat. So when we're going to have the dark chocolate, what that's going to do is it's going to be a really heavy contrast to those. So whereas the milk chocolate was meant to blend well, and the white chocolate also kind of blended well, this one's designed to be more of a contrast to really bring out some serious notes between the two of them. So let's have a bite of the dark chocolate. Cheers. I don't know why I keep cheersing chocolate. You're going to want to aim for about 70% or more cacao, just so you make sure that you cut through the peat smoke, because it's a heavy flavor. So let's go ahead and have a sip. Cheers. Interesting thing. This brings out that sea salt. Ooh, that was late to the game. It's the same note though. It brings out the sea salt to a huge degree. It's almost all that you're tasting. And there's no salt on this dark chocolate here. I do have salted dark chocolate. This is not one of them. So in this case, the peat is mixing really well with the dark chocolate. The contrast that I was expecting is a little bit less, rather than this is really actually a good kind of marriage of flavors. I would say that the peat smoke is still pretty heavy. The sea salt from the dark chocolate, which is weird, comes out very heavy, and the two of them mixing together is just exquisite. It's really, really good. And to save on time, I'm gonna just kind of breeze through the next ones just to let you know what to buy. So this is the Glendronach 12, and this is the Glenellachie 12. Both are sherried scotches, and these go really, really well with a dark chocolate and sea salt, as you saw from the initial little tasting I did. So these are gonna play really well off of each other. Some of the raisin notes are gonna come out. The sea salt is really gonna activate your tongue and bring out some of the delicious berry flavors from both of these. If you or the person that you're buying for are more of a rye fan, then something like Knob Creek Rye or Pikesville Rye are great choices to go with a couple different types of chocolates. So this one was more of an impulse buy because they didn't have what I actually set out to buy. This is a rum-filled dark chocolate. What I actually went to buy was, and you might have had this before, more of like a spiced chocolate. Think like, literally like spicy chocolate, usually like a Mexican style chocolate. Those would go really, really well with these ryes because obviously the two play well together. You're gonna have the creaminess from the chocolate itself kind of cutting down the rye spice from either one of these whiskeys, but not completely ignoring it because it's gonna bring the rye along with it. Now, in the case of the rum one, I brought this along and I had one earlier. Like, I'm going through all these because I ate a ton of chocolate earlier. So in the case of this one, the rum actually sweetened everything up, and that also helped to cut through the rye spice. Now, if you're more of a Japanese whiskey kind of person, now these are both a couple of fairly inexpensive options, at least comparatively inexpensive options, but this would totally work with something like Yamazaki or Hibiki if you really wanted to go that way. This one here is a Grand Marnier filled dark chocolate. It's got some swirls of white chocolate on top, but either way, if you want to get something that's like a chocolate infused or orange infused chocolate, that's what you're looking for. And the reason we're going to do that is because most Japanese whiskeys feature kind of subtle notes of fruits fairly consistently, actually. I would say most Japanese whiskeys do one thing and they do it really, really well, and that tends to be a nice soft fruit. So matching that along with an orange makes perfect sense. Then I have an espresso infused dark chocolate here. It even has some little espresso beans on top. And what you're gonna wanna do with something like an espresso bean one, or just any sort of coffee flavored chocolate, is something high proof. There's two reasons for this. Number one, chocolate and coffee is a pretty strong flavor, so you're gonna want something that can compete with that. Now what I have here is my personal barrel pick of Stellum Rye, which this is 58% if I remember correctly, 58.12%. And then I also have a single barrel pick of Old Line. These don't matter so much other than I just picked something that was really high proof, and I also really like this one. So in the case of the espresso beans, what you're gonna be doing is you're gonna be complementing it and also competing with it in a way that is almost reminiscent of, say, like an Irish coffee that has a little bit too much Irish whiskey in it, where when you take a sip, you feel that bite and it doesn't totally blend together, but it tastes better together, right? So that's what I would suggest. As a recap, you want to have your white chocolate with your Irish, your milk chocolate with your bourbon, your dark chocolate with your heavily peated, dark chocolate sea salt with sherried Scotch, then something more like spice infused or rum infused, you're going to want with rye. Then you're going to want your orange infused to go with your Japanese whiskey. And lastly, you're going to want your espresso or coffee, whatever infused chocolate to go with something high proof. If you've ever matched chocolate with whiskeys, let me know in the comments below what you've put together and did it work out well. So I hope that this guide has been helpful to you, and if you're out there buying a present for somebody, on behalf of them, I'd like to thank you because you're about to get them something really awesome. Thank you for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Cheers.